So today's video is going to be going over killer tips I wish I knew when I first started playing Propnight. A lot of these tips are going to be for beginners, however there will still be a few advanced tricks and tips sprinkled throughout the video as well. If there's anything that you think I've missed, feel free to comment down below so the community will know about them as well. With that being said, let's start off with the first section all about general tips. For the first general tip, I suggest setting the effects quality to max so you can see survivors who go invisible a lot better. It's not pure invisibility, it's more like active camo, so you can slightly see survivors and their movements. For the next tip, I always suggest tanking the doors. Playing chicken with the survivor wastes time and potential opportunities for you to scout the map. You can stand a little bit far away from the door to hit it and to weaken it, and once it's weakened, I suggest just running right through it. This way you save time and the survivors cannot use that door again. This is very important for maps like Skull where there's over 10 doors. There are some killers that have abilities that can negate door spam by survivors, which I will go through later on in the video as well. And for the last tip of this section, if you ever see a survivor backpedaling, chances are they either have a camera or a yellow jar to throw on you. I suggest whipping your character model around so you don't get blasted by a camera flash. Now time to talk about our first killer, Akasha. Akasha's toolkit is very diverse. First, she has an ability called Blade Dance. This makes Akasha dash forward and deals a good chunk of damage for anyone who's nearby. Shadow gives Akasha the ability to travel faster, but at the same time she's not able to attack. And Blood Eye, in my opinion, is one of the best tracking abilities in the game currently. Once used, this eye tracks anybody's movement within a certain area. And the first tip is the eye itself. A lot of people, myself included at the beginning of Propnight, use Akasha's eye poorly. Typically, new or inexperienced players with Akasha will place her eye on survivors that have been chaired, instead of placing them on generators that survivors are trying to work on. The reason why it sucks placing the eye on a chair versus on a generator that you know that's being worked on is the fact that players can easily save a survivor while you're on the other side of the map and disappear out of the range of the eye's effect. But placing the eye on a generator gives you a lot of information. Doing this will either deter survivors from working on that generator, or when a survivor is working on that generator, you'll be alerted with visual cues as well as an audio cue. This is what makes Akasha's Blood Eye one of the best tracking abilities in the game. And the next tip is about her shadow. I always suggest being careful when using her shadow, just for the simple fact that you cannot attack while in this mode. So if you're nearby a survivor, be sure to use her Blade Dance instead of her shadow. The next killer I want to talk about is Igor. Igor's toolkit is all about chasing and applying pressure. He has an ability called Chainsaw Terror, which makes him very stealthy for about 10 seconds. His next ability is called Soda Bomb, which are basically grenades that explode shortly after you throw them. And his last ability is probably one of his best, which is called Charge. Basically, Igor revs up his chain and goes berserk, moving at very high speeds. For the first tip, I recommend, if you're ever playing Igor, to increase your sensitivity a little bit. It'll make Igor's charge ability a lot easier to use when you have to whip around corners. Another tip is with his Soda Bomb. His Soda Bomb is great for creating map control while chasing a survivor. If you throw a bomb in a certain direction, survivors would typically run the other way, cutting off a potential area for them to go to. Soda Bombs are also good for revealing survivors' location. If you think a survivor is somewhere nearby and you're not 100% too sure where they are, you can throw a Soda Bomb in that direction to reveal their location for you. And lastly, for his Chainsaw Terror, it goes well with his charge. It only lasts about 10 seconds, so once you activate it, be sure that a survivor is nearby, and then you can use your charge for maximum output. And before I forget to mention, while in his charge mode, you can instantly break down doors that are closed. Another thing, a good thing about Igor's charge ability is that you can carry its momentum through jumping. This can save you on the cooldown of the charge and also be able to catch survivors a lot more quickly as well. Now, Imposter is one of my favorite killers currently out in the game. His first ability, which is called Overcharge, is great for providing information and mobility. It overcharges all unrepaired generators and highlights which generators are currently being worked on by a survivor. And for each generator that has been repaired, you gain movement speed. So towards the end game, you get faster with Overcharge. His next ability is called Spy. This allows him to change into any of the current living survivors on the map. And his last ability, which is also great, is called Prop, giving him the ability to change into a prop just as survivors. The Imposter also has a few passive abilities as well. He can act like he's doing gens like other survivors, and he can also fake heal himself as well. Personally, they give me a lot of joy whenever I'm able to bamboozle a player. Psych! Gotcha! Thought it was. I always gotta get one of them as an imposter. Thought it was. It's okay to have fun in Propnight. Not everything has to be you sweating your balls off 24/7. And this is one of the opportunities where I like to have fun with the imposter, even though using his passive abilities isn't the most optimal thing to do, because of the time investment needed to pull it off at times. He also has another passive ability where when he's carrying a survivor to a chair, he walks even faster. For the first tip, I recommend using both his spy and prop ability in conjunction. Typically, I like to first turn into a spy and then into a prop for multiple reasons. The first being that as a prop, you're able to scout gens a lot quicker around the map than as the imposter or in your spy mode where you can run out of stamina a lot quicker. But using both in conjunction with your overcharge gives you a lot of movement around the map. Typically, I noticed new players are less startled by props, and if you change out of a prop, you'll be as a survivor, providing max deception. However, he is currently slower than survivors as a prop. Either you make better movement choices than the survivor that you're chasing, or you can sprint as a survivor, and that typically gives you the opportunity to catch survivors when they're in their prop form. And combining the two would typically give you enough time to activate your hunt ability, which is the ability that all killers have to increase your movement speed over time during a chase. So whenever you run out of stamina while chasing as a fake survivor, you can go into prop mode to continue to chase and build up the conditions for your hunt to start and to grow. Lastly, overcharge is kind of iffy because it provides you both information and movement speed. The only thing I recommend is don't use your overcharge when placing a survivor in a chair. A lot of people are catching on to the fact that imposters typically like to pop that overcharge after you place a survivor in a chair. So you waste movement potential as well as gathering information. And for my last tip, since the imposter can become a prop, it's a great tool to combat people who like to spam doors. Basically, you can go through windows and a lot of doors as a prop. This works best with small props, as bigger props can get stuck in the door and make everything feel awkward and give the survivor a chance to escape. And for people who like to play survivor and getting tired of being thraxed by imposters, I'll be coming out with a video on how to counter each killer in the future, so be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Now, Granny also has a very diverse toolkit. The first ability that we're going to go over is Mine. It's basically a ghost knife that flies around at survivors. Her second ability is called Astral. It makes Granny invisible and fast for a short amount of time. She can throw her knives forward to damage survivors at a distance. However, she's not able to attack 2 seconds after throwing her knives. So the first tip is that whenever a survivor is in a prop mode, it's better for you not to throw your knives if you think you can catch a survivor within those 2 seconds. However, throwing knives and placing a mine at doors for whenever a survivor is spamming them can be very effective into deterring a survivor from doing that, as well as forcing them to go somewhere else. Granny's astral form is very strong, but at times survivors can anticipate it. I recommend not jumping while you're in this astral form because some people can hear that pretty easily. Banshee is another killer who has a very diverse toolkit. One of her toolkits gives her the ability to fly in any direction. And she's also equipped with an AoE screen that deals out a small amount of damage and revealing those who are affected by it. Lastly, she can curse prop machines to increase the amount of skill checks survivors have to do, as well as escape doors, chests that survivors can get items from. For the first tip, be careful when using curses. If you're going against a skilled team of survivors, curses can be a double-edged sword. There are people out there who can hit skill checks like no man's business. And if that's the case, then you're giving those survivors a benefit, because with more skill checks means the quicker they can finish their generators. If you find yourself in a situation like this, it's probably best just to curse the chests. For the next tip, with her AoE scream, use it for information rather than just trying to deal damage. It only does about 10 damage, so the chances of you ever downing somebody is really low. If you think you can finish them off with your scream, go for it. If not, save him for whenever you suspect that a survivor is hiding as a prop nearby an area. Her screams do not go through walls anymore and larger props, so be mindful of that as well. I do recommend using her scream whenever you see a survivor change into a tiny prop that's low on HP, because then you might be able to down them. And lastly, Banshee's flight is very good for maps like school and the house, where she can elevate and change levels pretty quickly, and at times even beat survivors to the upper floor. If you jump before using her flight, you also save on some charges at the same time as well. Thank you for watching the whole video. If you found any of the information helpful, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll appreciate it a lot. And don't forget to join the Discord, as well as follow my Twitter for the key giveaways. Links are in the description as well. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you later.